Now, when I walked into HQ
Ah,
the first time, I
okay,
was
talk
like,
about it.
wow, this is
Yeah,
nice.
yeah, yeah.
17 floors. Cafe here, they making my matcha for $3. Matcha for three. Y'all ever heard of matcha for $3?
What's going on, everybody? Welcome to Care to Elaborate with Taylor and Travarus. Today, we're going to talk about the culture in the office, from first impressions to colleagues and having to navigate talking about their shows that you don't care about. But anyway, Taylor, how are you doing today?
I am actually doing very well. I got my hair done last week, so I feel a
Okay.
lot better about my life. It's a start of what will be a new month. I feel great. I just feel vivacious and full of life today. How are you?
That's what a fantastic word. Tell them again.
Vivacious.
Tell them again.
Vivacious. I'm alive.
That's a great word. Yeah, this new month is approaching. Seasons are changing. A lot of reflection. I feel like I've been in. Also, got some birthdays coming up, but there will be a lot of money spent going forward through the rest
Oof.
of the year.
Yeah. Ooh. Christmas
Um,
coming up. Ooh,
you know
Lord.
what I mean? When Simba and Mufasa was on like the ledge and was looking over the horizon, and they could just see. What I see is like bills. I'm looking
Okay,
on the
I see money
horizon.
coming out of my account.
I see debits.
Okay, look,
Yeah.
that money sign. Mine,
That's what
Ain't no money
that's what
on
I
my
see.
card. Okay, look.
That's what I see. But all jokes aside, we are also blessed to be able to be gainfully employed, and that's one of the reasons we're going to chat
Thank you, Jesus.
today. Yeah,
Yes.
because man, oh man. So Taylor, I want to start with you because as someone who is more fresh from college than I am, right? We talk about culture in the office. What is the first thing you think about as you leaving undergrad and you get your offer and you go to work at this big place? What is your first impression when you walk through those doors?
Okay, now, y'all, I got to be honest. So, where we work, every office is different. Every office
Mm-hmm.
does not look the same. So, when I walked in the first time, I was like, oh, this is cute. Come it was cute. It's cute. But really I was more concerned about where is the food. However,
Mm-hmm.
when I
Great
first
question.
walked in, it's more about I was just trying to get my bearings. But the first impression was this is cute.
Mm-hmm.
I like it, but when you compare, so let me tell you this, y'all. Again, when I say every office is different, HQ at a company does not look like the other offices in other
Yeah, the
places most of the
satellite
time.
offices, right?
So if you do not work out at HQ, your experience will be different. So the people at HQ have a totally different experience than the people working out of the other offices. So let me just
Right.
preface and say that. So when I walked in to the office that I work in now, I had already been to HQ. So that's why I said it was cute. Now, when I walked into HQ
Ah.
the first time, I
Okay,
was
talk
like,
about it.
wow, this is
Yeah,
nice.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
I mean, 17 floors. Food. It's a cafe here. They making my matcha for $3. Matcha for three. Y'all ever heard of matcha for $3?
Mm.
They making sushi for $5. I got a sushi roll, y'all. The other week, I got 2 sushi rolls for $15, and they were made fresh in front of
Mm.
me. Unheard
Mm.
of. Unheard of. Yeah.
So I about to sound like a simpleton. When I first walked into the office, I was like, "Oh, this is dope!" Like colored walls, you got
Color
booths.
walls.
Like
Mhm.
you see an orange wall, you get excited. You don't see orange wall in mundane environments. Like
No.
if you see an orange wall, I would assume that this is the place to be for whatever
No.
reason. I'm not sure why. Right. I take a bit of a tangent. When I was in middle school, if a teacher said a curse word or a sub said a curse word, I identified with them. Was I cursing at the time? No. But the reasoning was the same. It felt like you were cool for whatever reason. If I see an
Mm.
orange wall, yellow wall, bright blue wall, maybe this is a good place to be, right?
Okay.
But I will be very honest. The place that we both work at now is my third tech company.
He flexing on y'all, just so y'all know.
And this one is the least lit.
What? Really?
It's the least lit. So
This
we
is
talk
not what
about
I thought you were gonna say.
see,
Wait,
talk about
pause.
Yes. Okay. Okay. Yes.
I'm
Go
gonna
ahead.
need you to tell us more because this is like when you started talking, that is not what I thought was gonna come out your mouth. Okay,
I'm
give us the
glad.
comparison.
Little misdirection. So the first place that I've worked at, very sought after social media company, food A1.
Don't tell me that, Travaris, because I'd be hungry.
A1. You wanna know
Oh,
the best part about that is?
it was free.
Free.
Oh,
Capital F. Capital F.
capital
Capital F.
F, y'all.
Free.
Oh,
And they not only had they had different campuses under one umbrella. So there was
mm.
building numbers, and building number one through this was that campus, and then it had another campus, and you would take a little shuttle to the other campus, like 5 minutes,
Oh,
and it was like Disneyland. It was nuts.
that was
And
like
here's
this.
the here, and here's where the test was for me. I'm in California. Obviously, I'm an East Coast kid, born and raised in New Jersey. In New Jersey, what do we have? A lot of Caribbeans, Puerto Ricans, Dominicans, Jamaicans, Haitians, Bajans, Bahamians, a lot of folks from the islands. They had a Caribbean day.
Oh,
And the person, the chef in the back was gonna be making Caribbean food. Ha! Trash, I bet it was. I bet it's gonna be trash. Let me see this menu. They got plantains. This is gonna be trash. Oxtails, ain't no way. Ain't no way they gonna make oxtails good at this place. Taylor, I stood in line, ready to laugh. I got my plate.
that you was ready. That you had you
I
gained a
was
song,
I
Travaris. Gained a
I
song.
had I had my laugh cocked and loaded. Joke on me.
I know you tore it up.
Food was amazing.
Tore it
Like
clean down.
I
Plate.
was like, whose abuela is back there making this food? Right? Who like do this be patois back there? Because something ain't right. Like they going
That's why,
crazy back there.
please.
They're going crazy back there. That's place number one. That's the
Okay.
first place that I worked at. Second place I worked at, I worked between two offices, but they were on different parts of the bay. And this place, their food was gourmet to the T,
Okay, wait,
gourmet
hold on. What do you
everything.
mean by gourmet? What's gourmet about it?
They didn't have regular pizza. Every day was a different assortment of artisanal cheeses
Oh.
with like, and then it was,
You know what?
then
See,
it had
this why these companies been laying people off because they spending too much money in the kitchen. They don't they don't
it
got
had like
money.
chef of the week or chef of the month, and then it was divided based on whatever heritage month there was, and it had the highest
Mhm.
grade X, Y, and Z to celebrate that community. And
Whew.
I used to complain. And they also had every day after 2 o'clock, it was free ice cream every day.
Oh, see,
And
with
then
the
they had
big back, that would be
and
good.
right, and then they had kombucha by the fountain. Like you just,
See,
I'm
I
not a
love a
kombucha person.
kombucha. Oh,
And every Thursday they had what they call, I can't say the name because people gonna know what company it is, but they had a happy hour every Thursday on the
liquor?
rooftop. Yeah, on the rooftop,
Oh, that's dangerous.
beer and wine. Yeah, that's why
Oh,
people got.
okay, beer and wine. Okay,
Yeah,
I thought.
people
Okay,
gotta be mindful. Like
all right. Yeah, very demure. Very
she's your
fine.
coworker, not your potential yada yada. Like let's
People do
keep it
not be
clean.
caring about. But anyway,
And then our current company is number three because
mm.
the gourmet place, the food was also free,
Oh,
free. So I
somebody
got here and
somebody
they
play
talk about
Glorilla, okay? Because
and
oh
they talking about subsidized what? What are you talking about?
yeah, I ain't gonna lie, y'all. I paid $14 for a salad the other day, and that's supposed to be cheaper than it actually is, and
I
I
work
still
in
be
New
like,
York
ah,
City. I work in New York City, Times Square specifically. So like all the prices are elevated because they know that people. It's a tourist attraction. Like imagine
right,
working at Disneyland. And you have to buy the food that the tourists got to buy. You hurt. Your whole check is food.
yeah. See, now you got me, dog. Now I'm like, where the free food?
I ain't got no lunch, and no lunch ain't got me. Speaking of Glorilla, like
Okay, look,
we we
you
ain't
better
got it.
start packing you a ham and cheese sandwich.
But I got to pack it and I got to carry it. Man, this
Yeah,
is a
you
lot.
gotta carry it on your 2 hour commute.
Yeah. See,
Sorry,
this
I
is
don't
the
mean to
reason.
joke on you. I'm sorry.
It's all right. It's all right. I'll be
Okay.
okay.
So, Travaris, you told us about your experience, going through the food scene at
Yeah.
these various different places. But talk about, the camaraderie within the office. Like, how has your experience been now that we're back in the office,
Yeah.
most of the time? Compare that to, your experience before COVID and the camaraderie and all those things.
That's a good question. So I would say cumulatively, and just my tech experience, this place is like my current iteration is not the greatest because I'm in a satellite office.
Mm,
Um, and when I was with our company in the beginning, we weren't required to go to the office. So the camaraderie that we were building was virtual. But now that I moved across country back to Jersey, there isn't a lot of camaraderie in the office because in order for that, you need people from your business unit to be there. You need the people that you collaborate with. But a lot of people that I collaborate with are on the West Coast. But I think that the COVID landscape has changed how we work, right?
truly, it
And
has.
yeah, not to say I think I know for sure. So the culture at the office is different post COVID because you have to rely more heavily on technology to get the job done. Before that, it was what they used to call water cooler conversations. You would be at y'all go to lunch together, you and a couple colleagues, and if you wanted to have more deep dives, you're like, let's just go to lunch. Let's just go downstairs or go X, Y, and Z if you were at a place that had a cafeteria. Now, my experience is different because my office isn't huge.
Mm.
And before, people were in the office every day. And but now you gotta count, yeah, you gotta like work with people. You gonna be here tomorrow? Or nah, not
Right.
today.
'Cause people be asking me that. It'd be like, when you gonna be here next?
Yeah,
Yeah.
because and sometimes it's like they just want to see you. Sometimes because you're working on something. Sometimes whatever. Like, and in New York, we got two different offices in New York,
Hmm.
right? So, I would say that the post-COVID satellite office experience is not fire.
And to that point, I love how you hit specifically on the how it being a satellite office makes a
Yeah.
difference.
Hmm.
Because when I went to HQ, people were having a water cooler conversations, and I was taken aback.
Having a
I
blast.
was like, y'all all going to lunch together? They were like, it was like 12 o'clock, and normally, I don't eat lunch until later because that's just how
Right.
I live my life. They were like, no, you have to come to lunch with us. Like, come on. I'm looking like, huh?
Right. Right.
I was truly just flabbergasted at the fact that they take the time to
Yep.
not only, check on one another, but get up and go sit down at lunch for 30 minutes to 45 minutes together and have a conversation. Floored.
And at company number two for me, they would eat lunch at 11
Ooh,
every
that's
day
still
because
breakfast time.
they
That's
wanted to beat the rush, right?
oh, that.
Which takes us to another aspect
Okay.
about work culture, and I think we hit on this in another episode. Getting the perceptions of your coworkers
Mm,
based on factors that don't really matter. What
okay.
I
Tell me
mean
more.
by what I mean by the perceptions of your coworkers that don't really matter. What time did they get in? What time are they leaving? Where are they 7? Right? Because you
Mm,
got petty people in the office who pick up on those things.
yeah.
But here's the kicker, Taylor. Here's the kicker. These companies are built like an amusement park. There's a booth here to go work. There's a Zen room to
There
go
is a thin
work.
room, y'all.
There is the rooftop in certain offices. There's bridges with the art structures and like
Or you can go sit down
so
outside.
so before COVID, there were people who were checking it like, where's so and so? It's like, bro, we have a million places to work outside of our desk, right? So that's the thing that some of those politics involved. What time does so and so come in, and like, where are they? That's the part of the experience that I do not miss about work
Mm.
culture when we were in the office all the time.
Okay, and I feel like that kind of still exists. I don't know
Mm,
about on your side, but I think that for some people, that is definitely still a thing. As in,
yeah.
like, why are you leaving at this time?
Mm,
What time did you get here today? I think depending on where you are and where you
yeah.
work, that still exists.
And so I'm taking you back to company number one, and I want to really stay within the tech space or the tech adjacent roles. Like this is what we're here to chat with you all about. For all of its great food and splendor at company number one, I had a micromanager. For all those who know me personally, I can have any conversation with anybody. You really can't rattle me. This person, my manager, she would only hit me up if there was an issue. So whenever it would be like, hey, how's it going? Oh my god.
No, I mean, and people need to, you know what? That's one of my pet peeves. Like, people need to start adding context
You
as to
know,
what, because that will really throw you off.
this like 214 hit up of hey, how's it going? We don't chat. What is it?
Yeah, just like, hey, how's it going? I wanted to ask you about X. And like you can just put
Yo,
all that in the same message. Don't just,
double
hey, how's
text
it
me,
going
bro.
anymore.
Double text me. Like I know
Right.
that's taboo in the dating world. Like you don't want to
No.
be embarrassed. Double text me.
I
Let
make
me
sure I do that. Anytime I send anybody a form of communication, I say, hey, how are you? And then I continue on with what is the ask. Cause don't just you making
no.
people anxious.
No, I don't, and I don't need that. So
Right.
I had a micromanager, and for that reason, when I went to company number two, I had an option as to where that I want to work location wise.
Mm.
And I wanted to be opposite of where my direct manager was based on that experience. So I
Mm.
wanted the freedom to be able to navigate without having that. What time did he come in? I wanted my work to speak for itself,
Right. Because
right?
again, to my point I made before, you don't have to be in the office at dog on 8 a.m. to get the work done. Some people work better at 2 p.m. Like
Yep.
it doesn't always
Yep.
have to. I think we need to get out of this idea that, working in corporate has to be 9 to 5. What if I want to work 11 to 7? Like that flexibility always needs to be a thing. And that's across the board at any company, period.
If you aren't collaborating with anyone, it really shouldn't matter when the work is done. As long as we have agreed upon deadlines and I knock it out, that's what I want. And at company number two, I had complete autonomy because the timing, what time you got in, was kind of removed. Right. And I remember when I first got to tech, I asked my new manager, when do you want me in tomorrow? This lady was like, whenever you hear to what I think is a concrete question, I'm like, what's the
I love that
hesitation?
answer because yes, great answer.
I was so not used to it. I was like your
Mm.
cousins, 8:30, 9 o'clock, right?
See, and that's what I talk about. Gen Z, I should have said this before, but Gen Z values flexibility. Not only do we value efficiency, but it's the flexibility with it. There is
Right.
no reason why a company shouldn't be. People have other stuff going on. Shavaris, you have a whole child. So if
I
you got to
do.
leave at
And
two
a
o'clock
wife.
to go pick and a wife, okay. So if you got to leave at 2 o'clock to go pick up your child from
Hmm.
school or daycare or whatever, you gotta go.
And Jen Travarus feels the exact same way because to me, it always made sense just to like work around the things that are required for you. So
Right.
the hybrid work culture allows you to try to schedule your more busy outside of work days to not be the days you go to the office.
Exactly.
But when you were going to the office every day, it was tough. It was tough to like even something that's trivial. I got dry cleaning. The spot closed at 5, and I get out for work at 5. How am I going to get my dry cleaning?
You're not getting it.
Shit. Not today. Not this Thursday. You ain't getting the dry cleaning.
Right.
You might try to get it tomorrow, but like having to ask for permission for the
Mm.
most trivial things. I have a doctor's appointment. I'm going to be, yo, bro. Don't tell me you got a doctor's appointment. As your manager, don't tell me. Just, hey, Travis, I'm going to be online tomorrow about 11 a.m. Bet. Fine. That's fine.
And I love that. And I
That's
really,
fine.
I hope that everyone listening to this can take this and apply it. So if you are a C-suite executive listening to this, please take this and apply it. Like, they Amazon making people go back 5 days a
5
week.
days a
And
week?
a
What
lot
are
of
we
people
talking
actually
about?
quit. People quit because they were just like, in my life right now, this is not possible. Because
Yeah.
for people like you, Travars, that have to commute 2 hours one way,
Yep.
doing that 5 days a week is insane. It
It's
literally cuts
wild.
your productivity.
It's wild. And when you work 9 to 5, you are at the whims of whatever choices your leadership has made, right? And this is the
Mm,
trade-off that you get when you work for a corporation. And I know people always say, like, well, before the layoffs got crazy, tech jobs are so cushy. You all have flexible hours. You get paid pretty good salaries. But the things that we have, it's a high risk, high reward system.
very much so.
If they decide to remove the cushy aspects, you've built your life around it, right? You've
And
built
then
your
what
life
do you
around this.
And so that brings up something else that I've been thinking about because we're in this again, even though you've had experiences that have been even more cushy,
Right.
we're still in a very
Like free
much
food.
so cocoon. Like I feel like we're like in a cocoon and or like in the womb where we're being like
Yeah.
surrounded by warmth and
Yeah.
safety.
Yep.
But to the point of if we ever were to pivot to another industry, like if I ever had to work for the government, oh Lord. Oh my
Talk
goodness.
about stringent, and they walls ain't orange or
The
blue.
walls are black. They gray. The
They're
building got
gray.
mold.
Yeah, they walls are beige,
Now
khaki,
I'm
if you
sorry to all
will.
y'all government people out there. Not I know
I'm
not
sorry, my
every
bad.
government building has mold. We're sorry. That was I was being sarcastic.
But
But
y'all walls ain't orange.
some of them do got mold though.
Yeah,
Uh-huh.
so we don't. And look, the government jobs have some things that we don't.
That's true.
It's a thing called security,
Security and pension.
right? Pension. What is that? Like, what
Never heard
what
of it.
is that?
We do
But
have stock though.
see,
Hmm.
that's a whole nother episode.
Yeah,
Like,
we'll get into it.
and I think the things that we were speaking about, and I want to be mindful as we record these episodes to not come off like I'm crying in the Maybach. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I don't
Not you
want to.
crying in a Rolls Royce.
Yeah,
Please.
I don't want to. I want to make sure that like we're not complaining. What we're doing is sharing our experience because what I know is my work friends feel the same way, but there hasn't been a place where we can chat about these things and talk about how they may or may not make sense. And I think
Mm.
that what we want to do is build a community of people who can kind of create a groundswell to create our own. And this is Taylor and I's foyer in trying to create our own environment by sharing our experiences, not complaining
No,
because you
not
know
at all. Oh no. And I tell
no,
people all the time, even in regular life, if I am stating something, that does not mean I'm complaining. I am simply telling the truth. Okay?
that's it, that's it. And I
Plain
think
and
that I think because you are more fresh from college than I am, you may not have experienced people joining the company and being enamored with what
clear.
they see because this is their first real corporate job. Have you seen that? Have you seen people join the company and you see the wide eyes and you just like,
I
I don't
think
want
I
to, I
see
don't
it
want to hear play
more with
young.
the interns. The
Oh,
interns be
okay,
having
okay.
the widest eye, especially the
Mm,
ones that work in HQ, which
yeah.
honestly valid because again, the fact that I can get a $3 matcha, my eyes be wide too. Uh, um, so yes, I have seen that, and I think especially when you're coming into some place for the first time, you have nothing else to compare it to.
Yep.
It's like you said, it's like going to Disneyland. Like if I've
Yep.
only ever been to Disneyland and I haven't seen Universal or I haven't seen
Right.
Disney World or Busch Gardens or whatever else, then I'll be like, dog, Disneyland the fiest thing out until I
Hmm.
venture out and see other things. So like when you were saying the food is free, I'm looking like, what?
Free and fire. That's the
Free
part.
and see, and I think my eyes would be super wide if I walked into an environment of that sort because my eyes were wide at the $3 matcha. So
And I want to be very clear that our workspace is actually like dope. Like it's like
they're pretty fire.
yeah, it's dope.
I really just
But I
want free food.
but I say that to say that when you have people who you observe have the really wide eyes, I wonder, is it that we are that impressionable or
Mm,
is it that good? Right? If you're coming from a campus, right, where your campus may be great, maybe not. Some campuses have less than modern facilities. And then you get to a Bay Area tech company on your internship for 12 or 16 weeks, and you just like, is that a part of the appeal that makes you want to choose that place? Or are we really that impressionable? Is that
this is a hard one because I've been seeing a lot of back and forth on like LinkedIn about how people are saying that, it's more than what you see on the outside of a company is what's on the inside. So it's beyond what they're offering
oh,
you. It's the company culture is what should make you, really want to work for a company. However, humans like nice, shiny things. That is a
yep.
scientific fact. If something is shiny, we are drawn to it. So I
Mm-hmm.
think, when you do see this company that is offering, free food or there's a gym and they got
Yeah.
classes in the gym you can go to for free, or there's a meditation space, or there's all these collaboration rooms and all the high tech fancy things.
Mm-hmm.
I think that because of that, even if there are other factors that may not be the best,
Mm-hmm.
people may be drawn to it.
Yeah. I mean, not unlike dating.
Do people do that still?
What? So you
Why
can
did
see
we need to let that
someone,
go?
you can see someone or something that's aesthetically pleasing, and it takes you longer to realize how toxic it is because it looks good.
That's true. No, yeah, yeah. Okay,
Right? Like
okay. All
you
right.
put up with a lot more if there's a Zen room versus
You
if
know,
there isn't, right? Like I'm going to the Zen room.
valid, because when they piss you off, you can just go. Yeah.
Or if you was dating somebody that got a big ass house, it's just like I'm going to the 16th room. I'm out of here, right? Like,
Right.
so I think that that's human nature. We are
Mm,
attracted to things that look good on the outside, even though we say the inside matters. The inside is mostly secondary
that is true until you had enough.
until you get burned.
Until you had enough. Yes. And then you're like, okay, now I feel like when you, again, once we get to a certain point, all that shiny shit fades.
Yeah.
It's just like when you get old. Like when people, that's why I think of, when people say we'll all end up being old and wrinkly one day, I feel
Hmm.
like same type of thing. Stuff can be cute for a while, but
Yep.
after it wears and tears on you, you're more so worried about what's within.
You need to have some, back to the word sustained. You got to be able to have sustained value. Like, what's the thing that's going to
Mm,
make me feel good about it when I'm having a bad day, right?
right.
And going back to overall work culture, you got to have people that you jive with at work. You got to
That
have
makes a difference.
you need to have your people
Night and
who
day.
like, man, they got me fucked up today, or they got me messed up today, right?
Right.
And you go grab your matcha with your homegirl or with your homeboy, because those people make the sometimes more toxic periods worth it.
For sure.
You
For
know?
sure. And I mean, I think that's just in life in general. You always have to have one person that you go to in one place. So whether that's at work, whether that's outside of work, wherever that's the
Right.
case, having that one person can take your day from 0 to at least a good 4.
At
Uh
least.
at least a good 4.
Right.
I hope.
Because they can offer either perspective and also, now we talked about in another episode, work friends, right?
Yes, you got to be
Everybody doesn't
careful.
everybody don't translate to outside. Like
Right.
some people, once my badge passes the threshold, me and you don't even speak the same language. Like we just don't chat
We don't
outside.
mesh.
Nah, and that's okay. But when we're inside these walls, it's boom. Like you're my guy, you my girl. Like this is right. This is the thing that I really enjoy about this person. We have this thing in common. But if you do have somebody that translates, then having that commonality of like someone that can help you to understand different perspective. Maybe I'm wrong, and you need someone to tell you that maybe you should have done X, Y, and Z. And this is no different than regular life, but I think that when you work in a work culture that is high volume, fast paced, um, lines can get crossed
Easily.
easily. I thought you wanted this. No, we had a 5 minute meeting and there's expectations and here's what I need, and then you don't deliver on this. And you need to have somebody that's good to be able to have a mirror, have somebody that can help
Right.
you to see yourself a little differently.
And even if you are right,
Hmm.
sometimes you just need somebody to vent to.
Facts.
So, right. So even if in your case you did do the right thing and your friend agrees, sometimes you just gotta get it out.
Yeah. And speaking of that, I think this might be a hot take for some. I think the workplace is no different than college.
No, it's the same. It's you got your cliques,
Yep.
you got the elites, you got
Yep.
the people who are not as popular, everybody
Got the
working
people
in competition with each other.
who in 9 different clubs who
Right.
want to be noticed, right? Like for those who did not go to who weren't as affiliated in college, or you didn't go to a big school. I didn't go to a big school, but it's like high school where everybody has their role, right? In the workplace at a big company, everybody has their role. And this when the politics come around, you got to watch who you associate yourself with because you might be guilty by association.
And to all the early career people listening,
You
please be careful of that. I'll tell y'all right here, right now. Trust no one. Now, I'll be honest, y'all. I trust Travarus, because Travarus has proven himself time and time again. But be very cognizant, as Travarus has said. Sometimes, even your work friends, be careful with what you say. Period.
and I'll if you are a young marginalized American
Mm-hmm.
working in the tech space, I do not want to alarm you, but I want you to be very clear that you have to be very discerning in who you choose to communicate your gripes with,
Right.
because historically there have been many times where your venting has turned into your demise.
Mm,
And there are people who don't mean you well. There are people who may not see you as you see them. And sometimes here's the politics: people can get clout off of bringing your name and your disdain for a situation to the big boss and say, well, in actuality, Aaron doesn't really like this. He actually told me that he's feeling like this isn't the job for him. Like, what?
right.
And instead of the big boss talking to Aaron, he'll just take homeboy's word for it. So you got to be very careful who you talk to. It doesn't mean don't trust anybody, because your instincts will tell you who to vibe with. But you
True.
do have to be very discerning. And if you get that feeling of like, nah,
Then don't do it. Don't
then it's
do it.
nah.
Yeah,
Then it's
for
nah.
sure. For
And
sure.
when you do have that feeling, you have to. It's good to even run that by people that you do enjoy outside of the company, to be able to ask, like, yo, here's a situation. Like, what do you think I should do? Um, but you got to be very careful of who you give your trust to, especially as an early career professional in a big company.
I agree. And when you find that one person or a couple people or how many ever people that you can trust, those are your go to people, I think,
Right.
almost at all times. So, for a fact, I know I can trust Travaris. So, if I need a perspective on something, I'd be like, Travaris, look, I know you're going to keep it a buck. I know you're going to keep it real. Can I talk to you about this? Same thing with some of my other colleagues who I
Right.
actually genuinely trust. I will have those conversations with them that I most likely cannot have with anyone else. And again, you always only need like a person or two, y'all. You don't have to be out here being every like the most popular person in the office. I think a lot of people kind of strive to do that sometimes, and it feeds into that office politics. Like I
Hmm.
understand making a network is different than you trying to befriend everyone.
Yes,
There's a
yes.
difference.
That's such a good point. And I think especially for, and I mean, you can speak to better than I can, the early career professionals and being able to determine what's what, right?
Right.
Like, and coming from, and I want you to speak on this, coming from undergraduate to maybe your first, second, third year post college into this environment, what are the ways that you really acclimate yourself to the environment that's different than you did in college?
Mm, this is a good question. So I think honestly, I'll be honest, it's really the same.
Mm,
So I'll think of it like this. So when you walk into your first day of college or on campus for the first time, you may have seen a couple people you met online, similar to work culture. You might have seen a couple people you saw on LinkedIn, but you
mm-hmm,
don't really know these people. So you kind of take a mental note of that and you navigate that based on what the information that you gathered from what you saw online. And so you're
right.
like, okay, I think I saw so and so online and they did this, this, and that. And I think I saw so and so online and they did this, this, and that. Maybe these are some people I can start with. So that's kind of
Mm,
what I did. I took that same approach in both college and both in my professional life going into the office for the first time. But I think it truly has been the same in how I've navigated it because Like in college, I tested some things out. So I would join this organization or I would go to this event to see
Mm-hmm.
kind of how that felt. Same thing now in corporate. If we have a networking event, I may go see how it feels. If we have like a event where we're making things together, I may go see how it feels. And then I navigate and maneuver from there. So to me, it's always been about testing things out and figuring out number one, who I click with, and number
Mm-hmm.
two, where I feel as if I fit. To me, college and literally professional life are go hand in hand. They're two of the same. College prepares you for
Yeah.
what you will have to deal with and go through in your professional life.
All right, I want you to keep the ball for a second because I
Okay.
think that you're on to something, and I think that I know that I want to hear this perspective from you. You made a LinkedIn post sometime this week about how you show up, and when you show up, how you operate. Can you give more light to that? I think that's a good conversation for people to hear in terms of like you being an introvert, but you having to project more based on your career. So can you talk
Right.
about that?
So yes. So for people who do not know, I think mostly everyone thinks I'm an extrovert because I'm always yapping. But you all have to realize that I be yapping through a screen or to one person. When it comes to me walking into a room of 100 people I don't know, I'd be like, "Oh, woo!" I'm a little scared. I'm like, "What's going on?" So in order for me to kind of boost up my confidence and have also a little of research in my back pocket, one of the things that I always do, as I just mentioned, is research people.
Mm,
So if I am starting a job, I'm looking at who working there.
mm,
Who is working out of this office? Who is at this networking event? I'm searching through, I'm finding these people, I'm noting what they do. So if I have a similar interest to them, I already have some ideas of things I can say or topics or things we have in common to kind of guide the conversation. So I do things like that, but also I always make sure that I am not putting myself in a place where I am highly uncomfortable. I
mm.
think, growth comes with uncomfortability, but I always draw the line, I delineate between growth and me being like super duper duper uncomfortable. So if I come to a point where I've done my research and I feel like I'm going to talk to these people and I'm talking to them and I feel like this conversation is not going the way I thought it would go, I recognize I'm like, it does not have to be me making friends with everyone in the room.
Right,
If
right.
this feels like I'm not going to get anything out of this relationship, and again, I'm feeling uncomfortable, that I will move on to the next person, or I will
Mm.
go in a little corner and do something by myself to decompress for a second. I'm serious. I'll go to the bathroom and stand down. um, and I think, I think we have to get out of this idea that everyone who works in the office or everyone who goes to a networking event or whatever the sort has to be this extroverted type of person because that's just not the case. And I think if we genuinely want to make a culture or a company culture or whatever type of culture where everyone feels included, we have to accept the fact that not everyone is an extrovert, period. And we need to make
Yeah.
room for that also.
That was beautifully said because I think that it underscores the perception of people when they see the way you show up, right?
Yeah.
And I think something else that underscores the way you show up is how you dress, how you put it on, right?
I got a
And
little drip. Just a, y'all. I do
you know what
not
I
be
mean?
dripping like that. Just a smidge.
Stop. Because but you care about
I do because you can't just walk out looking at my mama with
but,
y'all.
but some
I
people
gotta see
don't
my mama.
have people some people don't come from those
That's true.
places. And speaking of continuing to speak about work culture, another aspect that people would be surprised to say is that when you work in the tech space or tech adjacent roles, there isn't a formal dress code, right?
People be wearing shorts. I didn't see people
Baby,
wear shorts
well,
and flip flops.
and it kind of makes you question as so I'm come from the school of I can never be overdressed,
Me too.
right? But um I don't know, maybe sometime along the last 3 or 4 years, I've stopped putting it on every single day. COVID has a lot to
It's
do with it.
hard. We be tired.
COVID has a lot to do with it.
Mm.
But I began to feel like me dressing the way that I was with like boots, button ups, slacks,
You do
not
be wearing
sports
them
clothes,
Chelsea
but
boots,
like
y'all. I didn't even
I
know what a
yeah.
Chelsea boot was.
I love I but all those things make me feel like I'm going to work, right? And I want to make sure I present a certain way based on how I came up. But then I
Mm.
began to stick out, which
Yeah.
is normally not bad for me, but like after a while, it's just like it just feels a little uncomfortable. Like y'all just wearing anything, and I'm out here like, you know, I care. So say that to say when learn from my mistakes and like where what makes you feel comfortable and allows you to be the best you can. I dress seasonally. Now that the season have changed, and
Seasonal.
I'll dress accordingly. But in the summertime, I'm rocking graphic T-shirts, sneakers, but like it's going to be put together. But it's I feel more liberal in the summer versus other seasons. I feel like layers and jackets and
Right.
coats and boots and you know what I mean, fake glasses, all that.
Not the
I
fake
like
glasses.
gotta have fake glasses, man.
I look. I wear real glasses, y'all. I can't see.
It's that sorry about that. But where how did you when you got to these spaces, did you understand what was required of you aesthetically, or you just showed up how you wanted to show up?
You know, I think it was a mix of both. So, in the office I work in, since I am close to DC, y'all know how people in DC be dressing. It gives business ish, business
Mm-hmm.
casual. But I already had that preconceived notion in my head, and that's also just how I dress in general anyway when I'm going to something that's work related. So I just went with the flow. So it really wasn't too different for me. But however, again, when I go to HQ, it looks a little different because just the
Because
region,
California is different.
right? The region and the area is different. So I feel like if I were to work out of there, like people be walking in with just shorts and a t-shirt on, and that's just not who I am. So even to the
See,
point, even if
that
I were to
was
work out of there, I can't. I don't know.
that's what experiencing COVID in pre-COVID, working in a tech company, dress up every day, and it was 5 days a week at that point, right?
Mm.
But um, experiencing COVID in California, work at a tech company, I consciously began to wear more hoodies and hats
That you did it on
because
purpose.
I did, and I can tell you why. In the pandemic, there was a lot more cultural awareness or racial unrest, right? So I wanted to make sure that everybody that I'm meeting with, I'm showing up. My work is impeccable, but I'm going to have a hat on and a hoodie, and I don't want you to relate hat and hoodie to unproductive.
Mm,
Nah, I wanted to make sure that, and this is coming from somebody who only wore buttons. You know what I mean? Like so, I wanted to make sure that that was the case. That turned into me beginning to build my clothing line and being to make more stuff. Like this is from my brand. So now the hats and the hoodies that I wear are mine. So it transitioned from a statement to I enjoy wearing my clothes. And now that I'm on the East Coast, where we tend to put it on a little bit more,
right.
I've shifted back to being more conscious of like I want to wear my stuff that I make, but also I want to make sure I want to dress up. I want to put on some boots. I want to put on a fire jacket. So, but yeah, so it definitely changes being in California and experiencing life in California and the tech company. It doesn't inspire you. That's the word. You're not
Put it on.
inspired to put it on as much as you would be on the East Coast, in my experience.
That's definitely true. And I think in my experience, you know what they say, when you look better, you feel better. And
Yep,
my whole thing is if I'm gonna go to work, I'm gonna at least look cute. Because if I'm gonna get up out my bed early and I gotta go to the office, I at least let me look. You know what I'm saying? Like I
facts.
hope I'm just not getting up just to get up. Like at least I can say that I put in the effort to look cute today, and I can feel good about that. Because the getting up really be ooh, he'd be taking a lot out of me. So the fact that I can look cute at the
Hmm.
end of it motivates me to do what I need to do.
Agreed.
Yeah,
So
for sure.
let's transition to um, the ending segments of the podcast, and I want to give it to Taylor so she can share some tips with you. But before that, I know you mentioned in your conversation you were mentioning how college is not different from uh, the industry that we work in now. But that's because you are a superstar, right? You had 19,000
Okay.
internships
I, I
and
had like
you
six.
18. You
Okay.
had a lot of internships at pretty well-known places.
I
So
like money.
you were getting to it, whereas which was uncommon, right? For I think folks in their junior and senior year where like any dull moment it seemed looking at LinkedIn, you had an internship. So I want to make sure that you highlight that everybody can aspire to try to be like to have no separation between college and corporate, but your experience is going to be a bit different. That's like me being able to touch the top shelf. I'm 6'3", so everybody can't do that. So
Right.
same with you.
Right. And that brings me to a little segment I like to call Tips with Taylor. Because Travaris, you hit on something fantastic there. Uh, but I want to say it was not always like that for me. So
Mm.
the internships that you saw, it took a long time to get there. And I tell people this all the time. I had to climb the mountains to get to the peak. So those internships that you saw there, it truly was a journey. So for the people who may be like me in the past, in the early days of college, who had a hard time getting an internship, because I truly did have a whew, a very difficult time getting internships at first. I want to lay the groundwork for a couple of things you can do if you're going through that experience where it's difficult for you to get an internship. So, a couple things that I did that helped me get my internships in the end. Number one, I tell people all the time, work on some sort of project that is interesting to you. So, this was a little bit more than a project for me. But in the pandemic, I was like, there was nothing to do. And I want to be a marketing major. I just changed my major to marketing. What can I do to show people that I can actually do marketing? Like what's something that I can use to put my work out there? So I started a little brand and I did all the marketing myself. I started a social media page. I did all these fantastic things just from the ground up. It didn't cost too much. It wasn't anything too crazy. But if you do have some sort of expertise, or if you are studying something where you could potentially create a portfolio of projects that you're interested in, even if it's a mock up of like a social media page, or if it's a mock up of a website, or if you coded something in the back end, put these things into a portfolio. So that's way when it comes around to the next internship cycle, at least you have some sort of work that you can reference. That's one thing. Second thing I will say, look into opportunities on your campus. When the campus closes down for the summer, the different offices still work. So when the students leave, the show doesn't stop. The campus still has to make sure that they have somebody doing cybersecurity, somebody doing marketing for the next class coming in, all of these various things. So I always tell people, check with your professors, check with the Office of Student Life, check with just various offices across the campus to see if they will have any type of opportunities during the summer. My last thing, big one here, volunteer your time, whether that's at a nonprofit or something of the sort, whether that's at a small business in your community. Then some of the small businesses may even pay you to be there, but there are so many different organizations or small businesses around in areas where they will need someone to come in and do some basic things for them, whether again that's social media, whether that's coding something, whether that's doing some sort of PR, whatever communications, whatever the case may be, they will most likely need some assistance. So this is where you can again get some experience that you can leverage when it comes to applying for more internships later. So if you've been struggling with getting an internship, start with some of these things to see if that betters your outcome in the next recruiting cycle. So that's my little tips with Taylor today.
That wasn't little. That was fantastic. That was dope. That was great.
Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you.
Hmm.
Now, Shavaris, I think the people need some concise advice because my
Okay.
advice was not very concise. So maybe you can get the people some concise advice. And
Okay.
so I want to know what tips you would give someone who is looking to switch careers, but just honestly doesn't know how to do it.
Oh man. Okay. It's a good question. So I was in this position 5 years ago, and like Taylor mentioned in her segment, I was also struggling with how to take the first step. You think the first step is just to apply, apply, apply. It's not. It's to research, research, research. You have to understand, number one, what is it that you want to do. That's a very like arbitrary, uh, simple question, like what do you want to do? But it requires you to really drill down into what do I enjoy, and does this place that I want to be have that? Um,
Mm.
and that's the first step. And then if there is a thing that you enjoy, and it does exist at a place that you want to be, what skills are missing from what you have now to what's required for that job? You can find that out by looking at a job description. So for me, working in education, I wanted to work in tech. I didn't know what role, and then I figured out what's closest to what I do here. There, it was a program manager. Then I began to look at LinkedIn. What does a program manager do? Oh, snap, I do most of those things. And now it's about translation. How can I translate to my potential place that I already do what they want? They don't speak my language. They don't speak education. They speak tech. I take their language, put it in. I mean, I take their language and put my stuff in their language, and that way, put that on my LinkedIn profile. When they're looking for keywords and they're searching for people, I should pop up. That space took me forever to crack, to figure out I have to put my work in their language. Oh, right. So let's go backwards. You have to figure out, you got to research what can I do? Does the place that I want to go have what I want to do? And what are the gaps and skills that are missing from what exists, what they require today versus what I have today? Once I get those skills, I have to translate what they do in their language to what I do, and I have to speak their language. After that, now you can be persistent and applying, applying, applying while doing the our favorite word, which is network. You gotta talk to people, and it's easy through LinkedIn because you are looking at people who have a similar job description to what you want. You just ask them for 5 minutes at a time, coffee chats, what have you, and this is not even, this is before you even get up outside of your seat to begin to talk to people. This is just doing this stuff virtually. So you got to research, you got to articulate the skills gap, you have to speak their language, and you have to make sure that you network, or else you're not going to be as successful as you would have, because they say that 70% of all roles that are hired for on LinkedIn, they go through, somebody went through the network first, and if it's posted, then it was a failed grassroots search. So a lot of people are finding jobs through who they know, and you just might get so fortunate to run into somebody who is looking for you, but you won't know that until you talk to folks. So if you're struggling with trying to shift careers or industries, it takes some work, but it's not hard. I mean, it takes a lot of work, but it's not impossible. You got to just make sure that you follow these steps, because you can do it for sure.
That was some great advice, Travaris. And I loved how you talked about, the transferable skills. I think
Yep.
that is a big term that I've heard a lot over the past couple of years. And I mean, in your experience, it obviously worked. So you all focused on those transferable skills for real.
You have to. And then you'll also be able to have these conversations about how you don't, how you're not enjoying your satellite office experience from a tech company that you get paid the most money you probably got paid in your life, but now you're just like, I want more, which speaks to the last thing I'll say. It doesn't take long for you to get accustomed to nice things.
Right. Once you taste the
It's
caviar,
once you taste it, it's like, I don't want a cheeseburger. I want,
you want something. Yeah,
you want
nice.
something, something that you can, that's not English. something.
5 course
uh,
meal.
yeah, you something that costs a little something, but be mindful of tasting the caviar because the more accustomed you get to the environment, the more you become of it. You have to have one foot outside in order to kind of keep you grounded and humble, or else
Stay humble.
you will become the thing that you dislike the most.
And please don't do that, y'all.
We don't
Mm-mm.
want that for you.
No, don't.
We don't want
No.
that for you.
Mm-mm. Neither.
So, do you think that we did a great job of elaborating on work culture, Taylor?
I think we did a fantastic job of elaborating today, Travaris. I had a great time, per usual, sharing my perspective and then getting to hear yours and, combining them together. I think, it's just been great elaborating today.
I agree. And with that, we'll catch y'all next time. Thank you for listening.